Hey everybody, how's it going? As you can see, we have managed to win Mr. Clinton back in spite of the very high extended unemployment benefits. He has been offered 3 times his standard salary of greenies to be on the show. So he is going to be on the armrest from now on. See, he meowed. That's so cute. Yeah, there was a lot of demand to bring him back, so we had to renegotiate his compensation package, and he's now here. So today what I wanted to discuss is the importance of doing something. Doing what? Something. Literally anything rather than nothing, so that you can kind of find your place in the world. I got this one comment recently on this community post I made where I was linking to this video on putting in a little bit of sacrifice so that your business can get somewhere, and how I was frustrated at the time in 2013 that a lot of the people that were frustrated with how they were stagnant in business seemed to be investing in every area of their lives besides their actual business. And in that video, I expressed, how I would see that there were people that had 2 cars, a house, a nice smartphone, but they wouldn't have a B156XW02 screen at their business. It's a $38 part that fit over 2,400 laptops at the time. It's just stuff like this used to drive me crazy. And I'm not going to read this comment because while I appreciate where the person is coming from, I'm not going to make fun of them. When comments are written in that way where they're kind of idolizing you, it kind of makes me want to throw up, and I don't want to let stuff like that get to my head, so I'm not even going to read it out loud. But what I wanted to go over is I really wanted to dig in and show you that getting somewhere, it's often not because you make this amazing web of perfect decisions that gets you there, but a lot of it is really just plodding through and doing something rather than doing nothing. So, because there are still people out there that think, I made a decision that I was going to be great at component level board repair, and then I chose to open a shop, and then I chose to make money at it, and then I chose to... It's really not like that at all. And I'm hoping that this video kind of gets more people inspired to do something rather than nothing if they don't particularly have direction. So what I found over the course of my life is that doing 12 to 15 hours of work a day, and I know this is probably going to get taken out of context, that's actually the easy part. Doing the grueling, back-breaking work for 12 hours a day is the easy part. The hard part is figuring out what 12 hours a day of work you're going to be doing. Like, what is it that you are going to actually do? Most people that I meet are not lazy people. They're willing to put in a lot of work. They're willing to put in a lot of effort. They're willing to put in a sacrifice. They just don't have any work or job to put that work or sacrifice into. With me, when I was a teenager, I remember applying for hundreds upon thousands of jobs, and I got called back by Modell's Sporting Goods and I think KFC. And I remember telling the guy at Modell's that I would rather clean the windows here with a toothbrush when it's 95 degrees outside than work at KFC. And he laughed and he hired me. And I realized even after I quit that job just how difficult it is to actually get a job of any kind. Because at the end of the day, you have to be someone who's not socially awkward, and I'm very socially awkward, and you have to talk with someone who feels like you would be a good fit. And when you're socially awkward, you're kind of not a good fit for anything. And if you don't really have a job history or all these accomplishments because you're still 17 or 18 years old, you don't really even have anything you could show to say, this is what I've accomplished that shows you that I'm worthwhile in spite of the fact that I'm weird. And so it's difficult to actually get any sort of job. So I remember, just to give you an idea of how stupid the pathway to finding what your thing is, I just kind of wanted to go over mine in this video. So I remember really thinking loudspeakers design was cool. What made this speaker sound different from that speaker? What made this speaker more accurate than that one? And I would read about this stuff all day long, and I found it interesting. So I read that loudspeaker engineering is kind of like audio engineering. It's, audio and it involves engineering. So I wanted to become an audio engineer. Now, audio engineer traditionally means someone who works at a recording studio who is running a session for a musician, not someone who is engineering a loudspeaker. But I was so ignorant and so stupid, and so I just want to start doing something right now that I decided to try to become an audio engineer. So I looked online for internships for about 5 or 6 months, and I finally found this studio internship, and I applied to it. And the studio was a really small place in the Film Center building that looked like it was crumbling and falling apart and put together with, Elmer's glue and shit. But it was the only place that called me back, so it was a place that I applied to. I remember the first day I was there, I was painting the walls of this room that was almost the size of my bathroom that they were calling a control room. It was an absolute dump, and I did this work for a good period of time, and I wasn't getting paid for it. It was one of those places where if you don't advocate for yourself, you will be doing slave labor until the end of time, because you're not going to get an opportunity to do anything that actually allows you to gain a skill unless you push for it. But the upside of it was, because it was one of those smaller, less professional places, that you had a lot more opportunity to mess with the equipment, to speak with potential clients, to use the space on your own time than you would if you were at a more professional facility. So I was making $0 there. At one point, I think they would ask me to, after about 6 or 8 months, they'd ask me to watch the place at the end of the day, and I would get $10 an hour for 2 or 3 hours at a time after spending 8 hours there all day. And like, if I really put in some grinding work to get, do sessions while I was there, I may come home with $400 that month. It wasn't anything that was particularly exciting. And I remember leaving that place to finally go and work at Avatar Studios as an intern for free. There, I wasn't getting, $10 an hour for $2 hours a day. I was getting $0 an hour for 8 or 10 hours a day. And I was there as an intern, and I realized that I was in the wrong job, because I don't really know how to interface with clients. I don't know how to interface with musicians. I'm not a musician, so when they say go to the bridge and edit this and that, I go, wait, what? I don't know what that means. So I was pretty bad at it, combined with my own social awkwardness. And I had this, but the one thing that I had going for me is that I was somewhat technically inclined. So when something wasn't working, I would say, let me take a look at this. And even if I didn't know how to figure it out, I at least had that, I had that identity of, I'm going to try and figure out what's wrong with this thing because I'm technically inclined, or at least more so than the other people here. Let's see what I can do. And eventually I was the person that people would ask to, make things work or fix panels that weren't working, or a channel in the mixer or something that wasn't working the way it was supposed to. And when I went to Avatar Studios, it was the same thing. I didn't really get along with the other interns that were there to try to become recording engineers, but I got along really, really well on a cultural level with the people that worked in the tech room. So I wound up working in the tech room, and eventually I got hired for $7.50, which was actually quite prestigious, because the other production assistants there only made $7.15 an hour. I got to walk around with this aura with my polo shirt buttoned all the way because I made $7.50. But Avatar was one of those places where even if I worked there for free, I used to leave every day with this pride and this kick in my step, knowing that my work was part of the reason that the best recording facility in the world, and I do believe that Avatar in its heyday was the best recording facility in the world. Studio A sounded amazing. That part of that was because of me. Even if it was like 0.1% of it was because of me, I walked away with that pride. And even though this was different from loudspeaker engineering, I also had an interest in why one album from the same group would sound different from another. Why is it that over here the vocalist sounds very clear, and in this one the vocalist sounds really far away? And that's when I figured out that, that audio engineer, they lost their shit in the 80s and started putting reverb on everything, and then gated reverb until it got killed with Sheryl Crow's Tuesday Night Music Club. I think the song that was supposed to be the single on that album that had all the stupid reverb and the gated reverb, like Run Baby Run, didn't do well, but All I Want to Do Is Have Some Fun did very well, and it had no reverb. And just like that, like this stupid thing of having too much reverb on everything kind of died with pop music. Anyway, going back to this, I kind of had that interest in why different albums sounded different, so I said, okay, you know what, fine. I'll try to do this. I went into the wrong field because I didn't know the difference between a loudspeaker engineer and an audio engineer, and I'm not really good at audio engineering because I'm kind of interested in tech. Let's see what can I make of this. So I worked at Avatar for a while, and after I got hired as a tech, I was pretty happy. And then 3 or 4 months into that, after I've been there about 6 months, 3 months internship, 3 or 4 months as a tech, I quit. And the reason I quit was, even though the other studio I worked at that I said was kind of like slave labor was far worse in quality in every single way to Avatar. It was a joke. It was a 30-room rehearsal facility in a space that had less space than Avatar's 3 or 4 rooms. And crappy equipment, was that I got to use that space on my own time to record my own sessions. My input was valued there in a way that it wasn't really valued at Avatar. And, I understand. I was 18 years old. Who the hell wants to listen to an 18-year-old kid? But it was pretty cool at the smaller place as an 18-year-old. People were coming to me to help me solve their problems, whereas at Avatar, you were one of the kids. I remember when I worked at Avatar, there were people there that were production assistants that were 26 years old, and management would refer to them as the kids. Can you tell the kids to do this? And that just it kind of struck me as weird. And there was also someone there who had a master's degree who worked in the tech room who made $12 an hour. And I was thinking to myself, this guy has a master's degree and he's 29 years old. I'm 18. If I go to college for 6 years, graduate, and work here for 11 years, I will go from making 750 to 12. If I work here for another 8 years, I will still be referred to as, quote, a kid. And it was one of those things where I looked at it, and even though it was a much more prestigious facility, I appreciated everything I learned there. I just didn't see myself sticking there for another 8 years. So I went back to the smaller place. And that studio, they actually were looking at expanding into potentially a new building. They were looking at new places to go because their lease was ending. They wanted to rebuild the place from scratch. And I thought, wow, I criticize how this place is done and how poorly wired it is and how the rooms didn't make sense acoustically. But if we start from scratch and they trust me because I've put in all this work and effort, then I could be the one building it. So I thought this was great. At that time, the owner was talking about the idea of just potentially, giving up management of it to somebody else to do something else. And I don't know, back then I was 18, $30,000 a year. That's actually a living. It's not $400 a month. I thought that, that would be like the holy grail. I could afford to live in my own apartment rather than having one with termites. I thought this was really cool. So I continued to work there. And then the financial crisis happened and they were not finding a new facility and everything went to shit. I tried to get a job as a health insurance salesman and that didn't work out at all because I realized that health insurance is a giant scam in the United States of America, at the very least the way it was being done. Oh my God, like working at Atlantis Healthcare, the very short time that I was there, I could probably make a 5-hour video on that alone, but just total scam. There was this one guy that would explain how the reason that you were led to this job is because everything else you've done in life has failed. So you've been led here. That's why you're listening to us talk for a few hours a day before you even get paid. And so we're going to rebuild you. We're going to rebuild you from the ground up and with our belief systems and our sales tactics and our ideas on how to be a person, and then you're going to succeed. And it was just total brainwashing. It was and you had to be brainwashed to believe that what they were selling was actually a good fucking product. Come at me and sue me, I dare you. You know what you were saying in those presentations. But anyway, so I quit doing that and I went back to this shitty recording studio that was going to be closing in a month or two. And there was one person there that I would record stuff for from time to time. So one of the things that I was doing is saying, listen, I'm more than happy to do all this free work, but when there are times where there's nothing on the schedule, I want to be able to bring in my own customers. And sometimes I did. I advertised on Craigslist. I'll record your stuff for 10 or 15 bucks an hour. I had I think it was Aaron Markey Sex Workers Art Show, to random rock bands, to random rappers come in. It was kind of cool. My recording sounded like shit. Again, I was 18, had a little experience, but it was kind of fun to get to do that. And there was one person there who had a vocal coaching class, and he had an assistant that did private lessons, and he would want to do his own music from time to time. And I was working on one of the tracks that he was doing, and this was one of the few things that actually sounded like it could go on a demo reel and sound professional if it was done well. So I thought, what the hell, let me continue working on this. I don't think that this is a job that I'll be good at. I don't think it's something I can do professionally, but I don't really have any opportunities right now. I kind of I crapped away the Avatar one because I quit. This one got crapped away because of the financial recession and the studio owner's decision to not open a new facility. So let me just continue with what the hell I'm doing, and instead of do nothing, because I kind of was depressed at that point and felt like doing nothing, and I wanted to work on that session. So I used some of the money I saved from the sessions to buy a broken MacBook on eBay, wasn't supposed to be broken, it was supposed to be used, and it arrived broken. So I fix it so that I could use it to run Logic, which was the program that they were using at the studio for all these sessions. I needed to use Logic because that was what all the sessions were in, and I needed to have a Mac because once Apple bought eMagic, they stopped allowing Logic to work on other platforms. And it was broken, and then I fixed it. And then when I realized that, this is probably not what I should be doing, I don't really think this is what I should be focusing on, this doesn't make sense, I sold it. And when I sold it, I made about $250. And I realized that I was used to making about $400 a month, maybe $600 if I was really lucky, and I just made $250 for something that took me 10 or 20 minutes. Let me try that again. I tried it again, I made $200. Tried another time, I kind of failed and fucked up and made $50. I tried again, I made $300. And this actually started to make sense. And I was speaking to someone that I wanted to buy a part from, and he was kind of asking, why are you buying this part from me instead of Newegg? And I said, well, this is a used machine, I don't need a new one, so it would help me if I saved 30 or $40. And he said, why don't you just do this as a repair service rather than buy and resell? And I said, there's no profit in it. I've seen the prices that the repair places charge. Nobody's going to want to deal with me. And he said, no, you idiot. This is New York. They're all lying. If you actually show up, that $199 they're charging turns into $299 or $350. When it says $199, but when you show up, they'll say that's the part by itself. If you want us to do it, it'll be $299 or $350, and most people just go with it. And I said, how the fuck can that even be? And he said, it's in New York City. You know, New York's a shithole. People do shitty things here because it's a shit city. And one of the things that I did is I tested this, and he was right. It said $199. When you show up, they tell you $299, and they don't even have the part in stock. They have to make you wait a week. And so I thought, wow, okay, cool. Let me kind of start a little, let me try this. So I bought a couple of parts with the last few $100 I had left. I put up an ad on Craigslist, Kijiji, Backpage, all this stuff. And I linked to the eBay feedback I had at the time because I had 100% eBay feedback from all the machines that I saw refurbished. So people, and I would tell people, well, listen, I don't have a store. I don't have a store. I don't have any of the other fancy smancy things you're going to expect from a dude with a store. But what I will do is I will meet you within 20 minutes of meeting you, I will fix the device in front of you. The device does not leave your eyes at any time, so you don't have to worry about it getting stolen by this random person that you don't know that doesn't show up in the business listings or anything. And I will fix it in front of you. It'll be done in 20 minutes. You only pay once it's done. You don't pay before it's done. So if I do the job and you don't like it, you can just, I don't know, call security on me from the office and have them escort me away and keep your computer. And it worked. I actually, I remember the first job I did. I bought I bought an LP 133WX1 TLA1 for $90, and I did a repair for the customer for $140, which was way underpriced at the time for a house call in New York City. It's insane. But I'm never going to forget making that first $50. That was my first job. I remember exactly where it was on Madison Avenue too. And I just kept doing it over and over and over and over and over. And that kind of led to here. Now, if I look back on this, I would have never found this as a job. I would have never just thought, well, I need a way to make money. Let me replace broken MacBook screens. That would have never happened. The way that I did that, it wasn't because I had this structured path. I had I like to read Axiom Audio forums, and I like to read, I like to look at the graphs for, Vandersteen and Teal Audio speakers and compare it to Paradigm and all the others. And I like to read Hydrogen Audio. I used to read Hydrogen Audio a lot as a teenager. And, literally read Garv's posts about, standard Vorbis versus GT3 Vorbis back in 2002 and how they would compare when using like C44 clips and stuff like that. And I wanted to be something. I wanted to do something in audio. I don't know what it is. I want to do something in audio. And I did what Eli, the computer guy, says is the worst thing you could possibly do. So Eli, the computer guy, always says, if you want to work, you need to have a specific problem you want to solve and then work to solve it. You can't just say, like what most people say on his channel, I want to do computers. I want to work with computers. Doesn't make any fucking sense. A, you don't have a problem you want to solve. B, you don't have any direction. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a software engineer? Do you want to be a web developer? Do you want to be a full stack developer? Do you want to be a hardware engineer that, designs PC boards? Do you want to be an engineer at Intel where they come up with new processor designs? Do you want to be a PHP coder? Do you want to be an IT manager that takes existing technology and uses it to solve problems for offices by setting up their stuff? Like, what do you want to do? Every one of these is a field of study that could take up 10 or 30 years of your life. You can't just say you want to just do computers. And I did that. I said I want to do audio engineering. And I literally got the wrong job and the wrong internship because I didn't know the difference between an audio engineer that wants to figure out why Opus sounds better than Vorbis, which sounds better than MP3, or why the lame all preset standard, it sounds better than Zing or Blade as an MP3 encoder. I didn't know the difference between that, loudspeaker engineering, and audio engineering where you're actually recording music for clients. I didn't know the difference. I didn't really understand it. I just said I wanted to work in audio, and I got the first thing that showed up. And that first thing that showed up was a horrible internship at a place that was falling apart, that 18 months later actually did fall apart, that led to me, working someplace else, where I learned some stuff, but not stuff I really applied to my career, that led to me recording music at the end of the day for some guy that couldn't afford normal studio time, but could afford to pay me like, $10 for the evenings for me to record his stuff so that I could get experience. That then led to me deciding I want to work on this to make a demo reel for something I don't even think I want to do, that led me to buying that MacBook on eBay because I made no money, so I couldn't buy one from the Apple Store, that led to it being broken because everything on eBay is broken, that led to me fixing it, that led to me realizing I don't even want to really do this, so let me just sell this, led to me realizing I just made $250, let me try that again, that led to what you have now. So what am I getting at in this entire video? Because we're 20 minutes into this and you're probably wondering what the fuck. Well, I know people that say, well, I want to do this, or this is the type of job I want, or this is the salary that I want. And if I don't get this, then I'm just going to, I'd rather just sit home and I'd rather do nothing. Or I'd rather just wait for the proper opportunity to come along. I know a lot of people that say, I won't, I'm going to wait until the opportunity that I'm qualified for comes along. Or admittedly, I know a lot of people that just get really, really, really depressed when they're not able to find a particular job that they want, or they don't get, and they just kind of stop trying and they stay home and they play video games and they, they just could become depressed and kind of do nothing. And I think there's a misconception that success comes from having a very specific plan and following that very specific plan, and that very specific plan getting you to a very specific place. Whereas in reality, a lot of it really comes from finding your place in the world. And the only way you're going to find your place in the world is going to be by stumbling through it in this kind of manner. A lot, I'm very jealous of the people, and I envy the people who were able to say when they're 10 years old, this is what I want to do for a living. Their parents support them and get them everything they need so that they can learn this. They go to school for it. They excel at school for it. They get out of school for it. They get into this amazing program, and now they're doing the very thing that they always dreamed of doing. And if you're one of those people, by all means, props to you. Seriously, that's amazing. I'm not saying that in a dismissive way. I really think it is. But a lot of people may be like this, where the only way they're going to find where they fit in the world is going to be by going through this convoluted process of doing stuff. And a lot of the stuff you're doing, it may seem worthless. You may be working for someone who literally takes you away from a paying job and says, I'll make it worth your while, and then at the end of the day, buys you a fucking sandwich from Lenny's when you could have actually made money. I remember when I worked at Avatar, after I got hired there at the Better Studio, even though it was $7.50 an hour, after 10 hours, after taxes, that's $50 or $60. And the guy at the crappier studio says, I need you for this session, I'll make it worth your while. I take off from Avatar, I go there, I do the session for 4 hours, and he buys me a sandwich from Lenny's that cost $8. Like, oh my God, I was this close to committing a crime that night. But anyway, that place was not exactly an ideal job. But what it did do is it made me realize that my place was as a technically minded person, that I was usually the one in the room that people would go to solve technical problems that other people didn't know how to solve. And I naturally identified as the person who is willing to open everything up and figure out what's wrong with it. And people tended to trust me with that, even before I knew what I was doing, which was really strange to me. They just, like, the people that worked there, they would give me their drum machines or other stuff and say, can you fix this? Can you fix that? Before I even necessarily knew what I was doing, because they saw that I kind of had that type of diagnostic mindset in taking things apart. And when I started working with that other person that I was doing sessions with, that led me to needing a machine when the business failed. You can't, you can't plot this out on a piece of paper. I sincerely doubt that even, Nostradamus himself or anybody who really analyzed me, who spent hours with me as a teenager, would have thought that you're going to take this path, and this is going to lead you to doing screen repair, and that's going to lead you to doing board repair, and doing board repair is going to lead you to doing YouTube videos when your therapist starts literally doing, asking you for advice on his Windows audio drivers when he upgraded to Windows 8 during a $200 an hour therapy session. That's going to lead you to YouTube videos instead of talk to a therapist, which is then going to lead you to recording board repair, which is then going to lead to you becoming one of the most famous component level board technicians in the United States. There's no way you could ever plan that. You could never plot that out, but that's what happened. And what happened, in my opinion, is that as I spent more time doing all this random stuff, I kind of slowly started to find what my niche was. So I figured out, okay, my niche is going to be in something tech, maybe in something hardware. Something hardware, but that's also in service to customers that are not being helped elsewhere. Okay, and then I kind of kept narrowing it down and figuring out where my place was. And for the first few years of doing that, I kind of felt like I was wandering around aimlessly. But while I was wandering around aimlessly, I was actually picking up a lot of skills. When I worked at Avatar Studios, I was 17 when I started, 18 when I got the tech job. I was 18 years old. There were clients there that were paying $3,000 a day for the room. They were paying maybe $700 a day for the producer. They were paying the orchestra of union musicians $300 a day, or $300 an hour in some cases, multiplied by the 20 to 40 people that were in the orchestra. And if something didn't work, they had to stop what they were doing. But they were still getting billed by the studio. They were still getting billed by all the union musicians. And I needed to make it work, and they would all look at me. And they'd all stare at me like, why isn't it working? And that was fairly stressful. But learning how to deal with that type of stressful situation helped me out when I would do house call repairs and I would show up to a client and the issue that they had was different than the issue that I was expecting that they would have. And I would have to kind of have my game face on and make it look, as I'm trying to figure it out in front of them without making it look like I'm actually figuring it out for the first time in front of them so that they wouldn't lose their shit and think, oh my God, what happened? Why did I choose this person? I learned a lot about how to deal with people, even though I was very socially awkward in these situations when I was working at that other studio. And I was, even as shitty as it was, when I was able to say after 11 o'clock and I had keys, this is my place, I can use it as a studio for my own customers. I learned how to deal with customers from that place. I learned how to deal with clients in a way that I had never learned how to deal with clients at Modell Sporting Goods, and most certainly never learned how to deal with clients from my 13 years of garbage public education or the half a year to year that I spent in college. I learned a lot from that, and it kind of applied to, and it helped me with what I did once I finally did find my purpose. But if I had said, I don't really know what my purpose is, so I'm not going to do anything, or I'm just going to stay at I probably wouldn't have really gotten anywhere. Me getting here is not really a result of me being amazing at what I do. It's literally because I was too stupid to know what my own profession that I wanted to do was, and me just deciding I'm just going to try to do it anyway. And me kind of collecting a bunch of these little skills and a bunch of these little contacts and a bunch of these little things along the way that eventually did help me get here. And, again, there's really no reproducing this path that I went on because it's ridiculous. There's no it's not like I need, looking back, obviously, if I had seen a video of someone doing component level board repair and thought that was cool in 2007, and I said, I'm going to try to start a business doing that in 2007, obviously I would have saved a lot of time, maybe been a lot further along. But I didn't really know what my place in the world was back then. I didn't know what it was I was going to do. So my point here is to encourage people who don't really know what their place in the world is to start doing something, even if you don't think that's your place in the world. Because eventually you're going to kind of align yourself to what your place in the world is, where you fit in, where you provide value, where you're able to help other people. You're eventually going to find that. But in order to find that, you got to start somewhere. So if your place in the world is here, and you don't know that it's here, and you start over here, you have a chance of eventually getting over there. But if you're so discouraged by the fact that you don't know where your place in the world is and it's over here, and it's anywhere in this whole circle that you could start, and you could say, well, I'm not going to start because I don't even know remotely where that is, then you're never going to find it. And finding your place in the world is going to be in a highly frustrating, highly aggravating, highly demoralizing couple of days, months, maybe years, for some people even decades. But the sooner you get it started, the sooner you get there. And I remember speaking with my dad about this when my dad would, he always said, when I would come home at 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning after a month of working 12 hours a day where I'd barely come home with $200 or $300, and he would say, I'm glad that you're doing the work that you're doing. I know that right now it probably is discouraging or disheartening, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like, I'm not going to tell you, get a real job. I'm not going to tell you should be going here. You should be doing that. You need to find your own way in the world, and I can't find that for you. I can talk to you about what I think along the way. I can, give you a little guidance here, there, but I can't really tell you what to do. I can't tell you, I was a stockbroker, you be a stockbroker. Then I became a chef, you become a chef. I think this is a good career, you do this career. You need to find your place, and that's going to be a really aggravating and probably frustrating journey for you. But once you find it, you're going to know it, and once you know it, I know you're going to do the work within it. And I'm kind of glad that my dad had that mindset, because I know a lot of people whose parents say, I was a civil engineer, therefore you will and go to this school and take this class and get this job with this person, or I work in real estate and when I retire, you are going to work and you are going to take over this real estate business of the family and all that. That may not be what your purpose is, but you got to find your purpose. You have to find out what it is you're going to do. And for me, this was a complete bumbling journey every step of the way, where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And at the end of the day, I still think that I found a place for myself in the world that made sense. I think that this is probably the place where I'm able to provide the greatest value given my particular skill set, how I view the world, how I deal with people, how I solve puzzles, how, when I put all of that together, I think this little strange niche of MacBook component level board repair, running a business that does it in a crowded city, that was my niche. That was where I was meant to provide the most value. That's where I've provided the most value. That's where I've felt the most rewards coming from my work. That's where I felt the most satisfaction from seeing what I'm able to provide customers and how happy they are when they get stuff back. And when I'm able to hire someone that says, I used to make $9 an hour off the book working at this shitty mechanic shop, and now I'm able to make, more than 30 an hour working for you. Like, this is something that gives me a great sense of pride and meaning. But it did take 3 years of bumbling around like an idiot to get to the point where I even had the idea. And it may take that long for you. It may take even longer. But the thing is, if you get started right now, whether it is finding a volunteer thing someplace, finding some dead-end job that may suck but is better than sitting on your ass, don't see it as, well, this volunteering job doesn't have the career path that I want. This dead-end job at this whatever internship doesn't have the career path that I want. Don't see the job itself as the career path. That's simply getting you out there to start your story so that you could figure out where it is you belong. And that's probably what I should have said in the very beginning of the video. Yes, I'll probably put a timestamp to this part of it in the description. So if you are kind of lost and you don't really know what you should be doing, get out there and do something. Anything, even if you think it's the wrong thing. Whatever it is you start doing, whether it's some dead-end job or volunteering thing or internship, that's not going to be what you're doing for the rest of your life. That's simply going to get you started on the path to living a life that is going to get you into these weird situations that eventually finds you to what your purpose is. And if you're someone that's willing to put in hard work and effort, the hardest thing for you is going to be figuring out what direction to put that hard work and effort into. And I hope you find it. Anyway, that's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I feel kind of guilty here because I feel like this is one of the more important topics that I've talked about, yet I've talked about it in a cryptic and way where it probably makes no sense. So my apologies for that. Hopefully at some point in the future, I'll be able to come up with a way to do this video where it actually does make sense, and when that day comes, I'll upload it. See you all later. Remember when Jimmy Wales would go on Wikipedia and give you this really guilty face asking you for money? We're going to start doing the same thing here, not for money, but for solutions. So I have a wiki here, repair.wiki, and on this wiki, my goal is to add lots of pages like this for all different types of devices, not just MacBooks, not just iPhones, where you have a bunch of common problems. So these are the most common problems that happen with the device, and these are the most common solutions. They're not generalized solutions where it's like check circuit. They are specific solutions and specific check here, check what voltage is here, if this, then try that kind of thing. Now, what I am asking for all of my subscribers is for people to put solutions in here for all different types of devices. So the way that I found all of these is, staying up until 3 or 4 in the morning, banging my head against the wall until I learned them all. And someone who brings a device to someone else, they may not have that solution. And if they don't have that solution, they don't have the time to bang their head against the wall for a few years figuring it all out, they may not be able to fix the product. That makes repair a less viable option for that customer. It means that shop will not make as much money. It means that the consumer, if they wish to do a do-it-yourself repair, will be less likely to do a do-it-yourself repair and more likely to throw the device out. What we're about at Repair Preservation Group is as many people as possible getting involved in the field of repair, getting involved in repair itself as a process. And the way I want to do that is by taking all the knowledge from all these little corners of the world that's stuck in people's heads and putting it somewhere. So that if someone brings a MacBook to another shop that's not mine, that the information is not stuck in my head. That shop will not have to tell that customer, I can't fix this problem. They could look at this list and go, this is on the list. Now I know this may be economically viable. I can check for it. I can fix it. Yeah, we can fix it for you. That customer will think better of repair. That shop will be better off because of it. That device will not be in a landfill. And if someone wants to fix it themselves, the knowledge is here. So I've added a lot of content to this wiki for all different models of MacBooks. But at this point in time, I'm really 99% of the content on this wiki has been created by me. So what I'm asking of all of you is contribute, add a page. For instance, the iPhone section is very sparse here. So if you're good at iPhone board repair, add something. If you're good at Samsung Galaxy board repair, add something. If you're good at repairing whatever type of device it is that's not on here, consider adding a little guide. Whatever time it took you to figure something out, one of the things that I enjoy is knowing that someone else is not going to take 80 hours to get to that solution, but that they'll find it in 20 minutes. And there may be something out there that took you 40 minutes to fix, or 3 hours, or 5 hours to fix, that someone else may be able to fix in 5 minutes because you shared information on it. This is a little pet project of mine, and I'd like to get to the point where, at least within the consumer electronics and device industry, where I can actually start compensating people financially for producing top tier good articles similar to the article that you see here. So if someone is able to make articles like this for other popular cell phones or laptops and they're good content, I'd like to get this organization to a point. This is a separate organization from the 501c4. This is the 501c3, where that organization can actually compensate people for creating stuff like this and kind of get it rolling. So let me know what you think. I'm going to include a link to the Discord for that down below for anybody who's interested in contributing or has questions. And that's it for today. And as always, hope you learned something. See you all in the next video. And yeah, I'm gonna practice having this face. I'm gonna practice this. I think I can do it. I think I can do it. It's just gonna take me a little bit of time. Erica, I need you to zoom in on the camera. That's good. All right. See you all next time.